All right, here we are. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We have a bunch of Brewer games to talk about, just like last week, and we also very excited. We have a college football preview to get to today, which is very, very exciting. But we're going to start with baseball because that's the season that we're in, and then we're going to give our part two of our Badgers primer, which is going to be our record predictions and our bold predictions, and then we are into the preview. So we are very excited for that. Connor, welcome back. Before we get into the intro to the show, I just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in last night and to everybody who has helped us by sharing posts, watching posts on Facebook, because we today, right before the show, hit 7,500 followers on Facebook. So we are very excited for that. So after the show is over, we are going to come up with a way to give out 4 Brewers ticket vouchers, which follower Dustin was very generous to donate to us to be able to give away. He had extras, so he offered to give them to us to give away to somebody else for us hitting 7,500 followers on Facebook, which is exciting. So thank you to Dustin. Thank you to everybody who watches our show and follows us on Facebook, and hopefully we can continue to grow on all of the other platforms that we're at. So someday we don't have to work for a living. We can just give you guys Wisconsin sports content, because that's what we'd like to do. So we're on the track.
Straight and narrow, baby. Straight and narrow. We're going full speed.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Okay, so like I mentioned, this week we have 6 Milwaukee Brewer games to go through. 5 of them were on the road, and 1 was at home, which was last night. But we're going to go and we're going to start with our power pairs and underrated performers. So for my power pair position player, I went with Jackson Churio. He was 9 for 26 over the last week. That's a 346 batting average. We're going to talk about the mammoth home run that he hit last night. So we'll get into that when we get to last night's game. For my power pitcher, I went with Freddie Peralta. He was very effective in his last start, which we will also get to in just a minute. And then for my underrated performer, I went with Sal Frelick. He was 7 for 20 over the last week. I think pretty underrated. Again, he doesn't hit home runs, so he doesn't get the flash that a guy like Willie Adames or Jackson Churio will get, but very quietly 350 batting average over the last week. So I went with Sal Frelick as my underrated performer this week. So Jake, hit me with yours.
So for my power pair hitter, I went with a guy that doesn't get all the playing time because our best player plays the same position as him, and I went with none other than Gary Sanchez. He had a really good series against Oakland, a bases clearing triple, a big-time home run. He hit over 300 over the last week, scored 3 runs, had a triple home run, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. So that's a 417 batting average, 800 slug, and a 1200 OPS. So very good from him. Yeah, I agree with Connor as well. Sal's getting way too much hate. I think people undervalue defense. We've had this discussion before, but people don't really understand how hard it is to play defense, especially in outfield and the MLB. But I digress. My power pair pitcher, I went with Aaron Ashby.
I like
2 innings pitched. You like that? 0 hits, 0 earned runs, a walk, 2K. And I wanted to touch base with Aaron Ashby and tell people what's been going on if you might not follow as closely as we do. He's been on fire in the month of August. He has not given up a run since August 6th. This goes back to when he was with the Nashville Sounds. Over that period of time, 8 2/3, 2 hits, 2 walks, and 16 strikeouts. He has a 111 batting average for the month and a 103 whip for the month. And in my opinion, he could just be another weapon for the rest of the season. We'll see if he makes the playoff roster, but he could be a weapon for Murphy for the rest of the season to eat some innings and hopefully get some strikeouts and look like Aaron Ashby that he was trending towards before a couple injuries piled up for him. My underrated performer, talking about people underrating defense. I mean, if this guy doesn't win the goddamn Gold Glove, dude, we got a problem. We're going to riot because Blake Perkins deserves a platinum glove with how many home runs he's taken away this year.
Man.
So I was going to say this later, but Mitchell has a great catch last week against St. Louis. We're going to talk about that game in a sec here. Has a great catch against St. Louis. And then people are comparing it to a catch that Blake Perkins had earlier in the year against the Cardinals, the same hitter, Lars Nootbaar. And they're saying, oh, which one's better? And then Blake Perkins is just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. This one's the best one. And he has the craziest catch I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, hold on a sec.
That was nuts.
Hold on a sec. He looked like Vince Carter in the dunk contest grabbing that shit, dude. I was like, unreal. I mean, still a 250 batting average, and when he gets on base, he causes havoc. He's got speed. He's a switch hitter, and he gives you elite defense. So Blake Perkins was my underrated performer this week.
I like it. Connor said, what can I say? Not everyone can be as smart as us three.
Connor, I couldn't agree more.
All right. So I'm going to be honest with you. My notes this week reflect much more takeaway type things on the fan level than they do from the sports analysis level. Not to say that I don't have sports analysis, because I obviously do, because that's what we do. But I have a lot of human analysis in my notes this week.
Okay, this will be interesting.
So let's talk game 2. Now, I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to throw out a couple things that I have. I'm going to give you the floor, and then we're going to have a conversation. That's how we're going to do this. So the Brewers, I made a post after this game that the Brewers were 20th in blown saves after this game, which had 2 blown saves in it. The save statistic is weird. There's a bunch of different ways you can earn one. So there were 2 blown saves in this game, one by Brian Hudson and one by Devin Williams. That still put the Brewers 20th. Behind the Dodgers, behind the Orioles, behind the Yankees. Fewer blown saves in those 2 teams. And obviously a bunch of teams that aren't as good. Also, we had Jackson Churrio's first 4-hit game, the 3rd youngest to do so in Brewers history.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. And then between Jackson Churrio, William Contreras, and Joey Ortiz, they all had clutch hits. Now, here's the thing. Just because the team lost doesn't make those hits not clutch when they happened.
Yep.
That's something where we need to get out of the just looking at the end result and being like, well, they lost, so it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Because they're coming through at a point where the game is on the line. You know that the Brewers lost. When Joey Ortiz is batting in the 6th inning, he doesn't know that the Brewers are going to lose. He doesn't know what the end result is going to be. So coming through in a situation like that, when the game is hanging in the balance, is clutch regardless of the end result. That is stepping up in an important moment regardless of the end result. Taylor, welcome back. And Rob, Packers, Badgers, Brewers, Bucks. That's what we do here.
I would just say yes. Yes, Rob. Yes.
So give me your thoughts on this game, and then I want to have a conversation.
Yeah, so I wanted to have that conversation too about clutch hits, right? So Ortiz actually was very good in this game. He had a sac fly in the 5th inning that got the Brewers on the board when they were down 2-0. Contreras got his 34th double of the year, also his 73rd RBI, and he tied the game in the 6th inning. So again, a guy who started out the season scalding hot, went through some struggles, plays literally every game that he wants. The coaches have to hold this guy off the field. That's the kind of player that he is.
And it still doesn't keep him off.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he wins those battles, right? And I think people have to appreciate that too. I am so happy that you started this conversation saying you have a lot of fan perspective, because I think that this week will be a good week for it. After last week where we had an episode where we won every single game, that was fun. I would love to do that every week. But Is that realistic? No. Okay, people want to talk about being realistic. We sit here and we talk about these losses. And we talk about them like adults. Do you understand?
That's what makes us not homers. That, what you just said right there, that is what makes us not homers by being optimistic.
Yeah. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to give you takeaways that are positive from this game, right? Like Contreras, like I said, his RBI double in the 6th inning, absolutely ties the game. That's big-time stuff right there. You get to the 7th inning, and you have a 20-year-old kid at the plate who is forming himself into the best player on this team, one of the best players in the National League. I do not care if people look at me sideways. He is forming himself into that. Jackson Churrio hits a single with the bases loaded. Hoskins and Ortiz score, gives the Brewers a 4-2 lead. That's a clutch hit.
That's a clutch hit.
It is 20 years old. All of you people who are 40 who talk mad shit about MLB players, college players, NFL players, you would look like idiots at the plate. This kid is 20. He's up there
the
delivering.
People that were complaining about his contract before the season started.
Yeah.
That is a bargain. You cannot tell me. I don't care what your thoughts were before the season. You could have been like Jackson Churrio's dad before the season and still realize that we are getting a bargain for what Jackson Churrio is giving us.
Dude, the amount of home runs and wins and highlights this kid is going to give us for the next 10 years is going to be insane. So you get to the bottom of the seventh. The Cardinals hit a 2-run homer off Hudson, tie the game, right? 4-4. Hey, Hudson's been fantastic this entire year, but this is another moment where you realize he's a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's another moment where you realize the other team's trying to win too.
Yeah. Let me throw one other thing out there with Brian Hudson. He's a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
literally a rookie.
Great point. And then to your point again, you get to the top of the eighth, and Joey Ortiz is at the plate again. Another rookie.
Yep.
And he doubles to center, getting a 2-out, 2 RBIs, 2-out, 2 RBI double. Sorry. Lots of twos in that one. Hoskins and Adames end up scoring on that. Give the Brewers a 6-4 lead. Everybody's high-fiving, feeling good. And you know what? We need to have a discussion. So I think this is a really good point to have a discussion about Devin Williams. And he struggled with command, man. And that just, again, the thing that I took away from this, I'm just going to say what I took away from this, since we're going to have a people conversation, is now I have trained myself to be this way. But when Devin Williams struggles, it makes me appreciate how good he is when he's on.
That's fair.
It makes me appreciate the command of a pitch that drops as much as his changeup does. It doesn't just get called the airbender for no reason because it sounds cool. It's because it's that damn good. So when he struggles with command and he's not dotting the corners, with his 96, it's okay. It's one loss. And you know what? We lost this game. And if you fast forward to right now, the Cardinals are in third place. So none of it matters.
So I want to talk about this because there is way too much hindsight being used as people thinking that Pat Murphy is somehow hapless or doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah,
I saw way too much Pat Murphy slander coming from this game. And yes, I get that Devin Williams was struggling with his command, but there is no scenario where you can tell me that Devin Williams wasn't ready to go for back-to-backs when he literally went back-to-back last week against the Dodgers, and he saw Ohtani and Betts in both of those back-to-backs. So there's not a situation that I don't trust Devin Williams in because he went back-to-back against two of, if not the two, best hitters in the National League.
Probably the best.
On back-to-back days. They're probably the best two.
It sucks to say, but yeah, they're probably the best two.
And he did it 2 days in a row against the two best players in the National League. So there's not a single situation that I don't trust Devin Williams.
Yep.
So that's part one. Now, what I will say is the first game of the back-to-back that he had against the Dodgers was only 7 pitches. So what I would propose is maybe we look at Devin Williams' usage by pitches, not by the number of days he's pitching. Now, this is a question that somebody who gets paid a lot more money than me is going to decide whether that number of pitches should be measured by the day, measured in 2-day increments, measured in 3-day increments, measured in week-long increments, measure in homestand increments, measure in series. However, this is something that's, like I said, somebody who gets paid way more than me is going to sit and figure out how the best to use these players. So this is just my perspective on this. So that's a question that I would ask for the Brewers pitching staff coaches, is to understand if it's less about the number of days that he's pitching and more about the number of pitches that he's throwing. Now, we're going to talk about last night's game when we get there, but environmental factors are also part of this. Tim Dillard has talked about it a lot in a place like Miami, where the heat is a factor, the humidity is a factor. Sometimes it makes your pitches bite too much because the grip is too much on the ball. It's more than you're used to because of the humidity and the stickiness. Like, these things are factors, and I'm not using it to make an excuse. Devin Williams didn't use it to make an excuse. Devin Williams, after the game, offered up no excuses. He just said, I didn't even make them beat me. He said, I beat myself. And that's the walks. That's the command. That's fine. We don't need to go further than that.
Nope.
We don't need to sit here and say Pat Murphy is doing Craig Counsell things and using it to somehow make it seem like Pat Murphy isn't a good manager because of one game, when what we've done up to this point of the season has Pat Murphy as a front runner for the Manager of the Year award. So that's part 2. Now, part 3, this, I saw way too much of this type of comment, the quote, unacceptable loss. It's such a stupid phrase. I asked this to several people, and I did not get a single answer from a single person on what a quote, acceptable loss is.
Would it, if you're a competitor, wouldn't every loss be an unacceptable loss?
Thank you.
I mean, that's just the first thing that pops into my head when I think about that.
Guess what? We're going to use this to transition right into game 3. Because the Brewers lost game 3, 3-0. Is this loss, quote, acceptable? Do you accept this loss? No.
At the end of the day, it counted exactly the same as the day before.
It sure did. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, this quote, acceptable loss, unacceptable loss thing, is because this is why they play the entire game. This is why they play the games, period. Baseball games aren't 8.5 innings long. They're 9 innings. Sometimes you will lose games in the bottom of the last inning. Sometimes your opponents will hit a buzzer beater. Sometimes your opponents will make a walk-off field goal. They play the entirety of the game. Sometimes the game comes down to the last segment. Mm-hmm. That's why we watch sports. The Brewers came out on the bad end of it in the second game of the series. The third game of the series, it's similar. Do we maybe just need to accept that at any time, any way, or a turning point that losses can happen? Just because the Brewers didn't lead at any point of this game doesn't mean that it should have won, or it's an acceptable loss because they weren't in front. They didn't make the other team come from behind or hit a walk-off grand slam. Nothing about that makes the game acceptable. You look at losses, and it shouldn't be a term of acceptable or unacceptable. You accept all of your losses. Yeah. What is more important is to learn from them. Now, in the third game of this series, another thing that I saw somebody say is, quote, this is how long losing streaks happen.
Oh.
To a team that hasn't lost more than 3 games the entire season.
Oh, my God.
This is how long losing streaks start. With a 2-game losing streak, that's how any losing streak starts.
I mean, it's a good point.
The fact that somebody can sit here, and I'm going to open this conversation even further when we get into last night and Sunday's games. The fact that the Brewers can be the only team that haven't lost more than 3 games in a row at any point this season, and people are still freaking out after 2-game losing streak on the road to a team who is fighting for their lives, is somehow this catastrophic event that's going to cost the season. I have a way that I'm going to phrase this when we get into last night's game, but the last specific thing that I want to say on game 3 is people also need to give Jackson Chourio a little bit of patience when it comes to defense, especially on the road. At home, I can understand expecting him to know a little bit better because he's played in that ballpark a lot more. But expecting Jackson Chourio to know the ins and outs of every single stadium when he's playing in a lot of them for only the first or second series of his career, it's a little unrealistic. It's something that there just needs to be some patience for because every single field in baseball is a different shape and size.
Yep.
So there's a learning curve to that. It's not like basketball or football where no matter where you go, everything is the same size.
Football is a little different too.
Well, I mean, but the field is still the same size.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fair. That's
like
fair.
The stadium's a different shape, and basketball, the floors are different colors sometimes.
Yep, that's fair.
But in baseball, the fences are at a different length. The fences are at a different height. The fences are in different shapes. It's
walls
different.
might be closer to the.
In Oakland, the bullpens are in foul territory, which is super wide. Milwaukee has a short foul territory. These are all things that until you are playing in these ballparks, you don't have a lot of experience with when you're a rookie. So there needs to be some grace given to Jackson Chourio when it comes to defense on the road. So say what you got to say about Game 3 from the Cardinals series, and let's put that one behind us.
Yeah, I don't really have much from this one, honestly, and neither did the Brewers' offense, as hard as that is to say. But, I mean, slow offensive game, but they're due for a slow offensive game every once in a while. Tyler brought up this terminology a couple years ago, the law of averages, and I wholeheartedly believe in it. And, every one game a week where we have a slow offensive game, but we're still averaging 5.5, 6 runs a game for the week, I will take that.
Another thing that I'll say, we talk about this with series all the time.
Yep.
Like, if the Brewers are winning series, I don't care if they have one game where they have no offense.
Yeah.
I will take a series win over scoring, say, 5 runs a game. If we score 9 runs, 10 runs, and 0, but win 2 out of 3, I don't care that they scored 0 in that third game. I'm not going to care in a playoff series if they get shut out one game but win the series. I don't care as long as you're winning series. And yes, I understand the Brewers did not win the Cardinals series. But in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about being shut out once in a while, like, it's not that serious that it's going to be some catastrophic thing that's going to wreck the season.
Yeah, it really is a once in a while thing. But, I wanted to say, I mean, the Cardinals won a game where they scored 3 runs. The Brewers won the first game of this series where they scored 3 runs. That's just how it goes sometimes. And then you have the game in the middle. And that game was just the Brewers got away from the fundamentals, in my opinion, of their defense and pitching. So, I mean, it happens. It is what it is. But give credit to Freddie Peralta. I mean, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned. He's put together back-to-back pretty good starts, in my opinion. So he's starting to put it together a little bit. Maybe he's amping up for the playoffs. That's something that would be really good for the Brewers. So hopefully that continues. But 3 total hits and 2 walks from the Brewers offense. Chourio, Contreras, and Mitchell were the 3 that got hits in this one. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, Nick Mears, that's a tough spot to be in. He went on the IL after this one. So Koenig had a good outing. Wilson had a good outing, which Wilson gets a lot of hate, but whatever. I'm not going to get into that right now. But, it is what it is. You just turn the page like I'm going to do, but they don't get to do that in real life, and then you just move on to the next series.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. Freddie Peralta, since the All-Star break, has a 3.20 ERA, a 2.18 opponent batting average, a 1.22 WHIP. Those are numbers you can certainly live with.
Yeah, those are much better numbers.
Yes. Okay, so we can go to the A's series. Now I want to throw something out there because, again, we're going to get to the third game of this series and we're going to deal with certain things.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Did you know that since July 1st, the Oakland A's are 25-17 coming into this series?
Really?
Yeah.
They're playing good ball.
8 games over 500.
That's good ball.
I don't know if the White Sox have had a series like that in the last decade.
Not wrong.
But for the A's to come into this series with the Brewers, 8 games over 500 since the calendar turned to July, I mean, I'm kind of impressed. And, I'm going to save a couple things for when we get into some of these later games, but we'll start with Aaron Savali. He gave up a leadoff solo shot and a couple of walks and a single in the first inning and 33 pitches. Now, I don't think he pitched badly. Obviously, he only gave up 1 run. He just wasn't his sharpest. His fastball and sinker just weren't the best. I thought his curveball was good, but for him to be pulled after 4 innings and 82 pitches, I don't think that's something where you look at his box score and you see, oh, he was pulled after 4 innings and 82 pitches. That's only like a 20 pitch an inning average. But you have to look at it inning by inning. At some point, the single inning pitch totals, they take a toll.
Yep.
And we've seen it happen to Freddie Peralta. We've seen it not as often happen to Colin Ray, but those things kind of snowball on you a little bit more than the total number of 82 pitches. So that's why I think, maybe it was a little early to pull Savali, but that 33 pitch first inning, I think, had a lot to do with it. Now, what I will say is after the A's threatened in the first inning, the offense immediately responded in the second inning. Brewers go single, home run, single, 4 of those 5, the first 4 hits, all were over 100-mile-an-hour exit velocities.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Jackson Churio's single was 107.
Smoked it.
Dude, smoked. And he is not the only person that was smoking the ball in this game. Because we get to the top of the 9th inning, William Contreras has an infield single that gave all 9 Brewers a hit. And then when he scored in the 9th inning, all 9 players scored for the offense.
Yep.
Gary Sanchez's triple, that's a weird phrase to say. Gary Sanchez and triple in the same sentence just feels weird unless you're saying Gary Sanchez scored on somebody's triple. It's a weird phrase to say, but his triple was 105.5 miles an hour off the bat. And Rhys Hoskins hit a sac fly that was 107 miles an hour off the bat. Yeah, so we might not have, a potential underrated performer candidate. It could have been Rhys Hoskins because he is smoking the ball in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's hitting it really hard.
And that's something that will eventually translate into hits. So I'm willing to be plenty patient on Rhys Hoskins as far as he's going with hitting the ball. Defensively, Willy Adames web gem to end the 3rd inning was crazy. For him to be doing that, and then Sal Frelick in the outfield. 9 putouts and an outfield assist, which the throw that he made was really great too, to catch the runner at 3rd base. I don't remember who threw the ball. I think it was Piamps. Threw the ball past the first baseman on an infield bunt for a hit attempt, and Piamps threw it into the wide foul territory that Oakland has. And Sal Frelick came from right field, and I wish I could have seen like an all-22 view of this, of how far Sal Frelick had to run into foul territory, and then to throw an absolute dart to 3rd base, and Joey Ortiz to put the tag on the cleat. Just a really great play to salvage what would have been a really, really bad play.
Yeah.
And then lastly, on the bullpen, Brian Hudson looked good. 2 innings pitched. He stayed on the corners, especially with his sweeper, which was great to see. Yoel Piamps, another scoreless inning. The defense picked him up with the error that he had. And McGill in the 8th, 1-2-3 inning. Ross gave up a single in the 9th and then went 1-2-3 right after that. So I was pretty pleased with the Brewers in Game 1 of the A series.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to start this out. In my notes, I said, welcome back, Blake Perkins from the 10-day IL. He went 2 for 5 and scored a run in this one. So automatically comes back in and just makes an impact. Brewers went from a slow offensive night in St. Louis, had 14 hits. Like you said, every starter had at least one. There was 5 players on the Brewers lineup that had 2 hits. And we had 4 walks, 2 of those walks from Willy Adames. You might ask, why do I point out Willy Adames walking? Because people still say that he swings at trash, which is not true. He's showing unreal patience this year.
His plate discipline is arguably the best that it's ever been.
Yeah, he's absolutely balling this year.
I'm going to double check because I think that is factual, but
yeah.
Continue.
And then, you pointed out Hudson, but I really wanted to congratulate him. It is hard when you give up a 2-run homer like he did in his last appearance and then come back and have a couple shutdown innings in a row and really look like the Brian Hudson that we have kind of known and loved this year. Talked about McGill. You talked about Ross. Ross going 1-2-3 after the single. But the Brewers offense, man, I got to talk, man. Rhys Hoskins, dude. He absolutely crushes a 3-run homer. And, like you would say, the vibes were immaculate at that point. I'm just like, oh, yeah, dude. That's why we brought you here, Rhys. And it wasn't just back-to-back homers. It was back-to-back pitches.
Yep.
Literally, you're still clapping and high-fiving your friends, watching the Brewers. And Ortiz is just like, yep, keep clapping, keep high-fiving.
Keep doing this.
Crushes it to left center, and you're just like, oh, yeah, boys. We're in business. Churio, 2 RBI single in the 2nd, and he had a double in the 4th. 9 batters batted in the 2nd inning. I mean, that's just – they batted around in the 2nd inning. 2nd through 4th is when the Brewers went on their run. They scored 7 unanswered. Sanchez, you said that it's weird to say Sanchez with a triple. It's because it was his first. That's why it's weird to say, because we have not said it up to this point this year. But, other than that, I mean, just a really good job. Sanchez had 3 RBIs. Hoskins had 4, obviously the 3-run homer. Talked about Ortiz home run, and Chourio home run was with 2 outs. Got him to 56 on the year. So I'm really hoping that my goal for Chourio, if I was going to make one, is for him to get somewhere maybe low 70s. If he gets into the low 70s after how he started this year, that'd be really great for him.
Yeah. Michael said Willie still has his moments, but he's way better disciplined this year. So here I have the numbers for you. So his chase percentage is 26.9. That is the lowest that he's had since 2020 by 0.6%.
Okay.
It is also 0.8% below his career average, and it is 1.6% below the Major League Baseball average.
Okay, so he's below the Major League Baseball average. So, I mean...
So he chases less than the average baseball player.
Okay.
Now, I will say this. He does make contact less than the average baseball player on pitches that he chases. So I think there might be the perception issue.
Okay.
So he chases less, but he just makes contact less on the ones that he does chase.
I'll tell you what, though. When he makes contact, it's usually very loud, and he has cool bat flips. So there's that.
And that's it. That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
It's less contact, but it's longer and louder contact. Now, we're talking about 27% of the pitches that he faces that he's chasing. So we're not talking about him chasing all the time, and we're not talking about him being like a strikeout or home run guy. That's not him.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I'm going to say on this is his whiff percentage is 29.5. That is 0.5% below his career average. It is higher than the Major League Baseball average, but it is still below where he's been at for his career. It's 1.5% lower than it was last year. It's a little bit higher than it was in 2022, but it's much lower than it was in 2021 and 2020. So it's arguably his best plate discipline year of his career.
I mean, so he is technically improving, and he's still giving you the power. And he had a little struggle there for a little bit with defense, but he's still good defensively. He still has the arm, and he's still slick with the glove when he has to be. So, I mean, I don't think he's, after hearing that, I instantly go to contract. I don't think he's outpriced himself for Milwaukee, in my opinion.
I'm still, and I said this probably like a month and a half ago, it's probably around the trade deadline that I said it. If you can do like a 2 for 45, that's what I would offer Willie Adames.
I would love that. I think he would do that because he would still get with the young team that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
It would give the Brewers enough time to have Cooper Pratt, down in the minors for a little bit before he makes his MLB debut, which is going to happen. Tyler and I were first on that, by the way. We were definitely on the hype train right away. You can go back and check. We have literal video proof. And I think that'd be a good deal for him because then he could still hit the free agent market if that's what he chooses to do in a couple of years. This conversation brings me back to a conversation about Devontae Adams where I thought that he should have taken a 2-year deal with the Packers back in the day. But, you win some, you lose some. That one, we won. This one, I think, would be a win if Willie actually took the 2-year deal. So I think we could win both. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to game 2. Now, this is Colin Ray's day. And I think, unfortunately, his stats got a little bit inflated. He finished 6 2/3, 1 pitch short of his season high 103 pitches. The 4th earned run does go on Jared Koenig, allowing an inherited runner to score. No, Michael, I don't think that Michael Pratt and Cooper Pratt are related. They could be, but I don't think so.
That would actually be insane. If
that would be wild. Like their parents are going to be like going everywhere.
Right.
That would be insane. I can look into it, but I don't think so. So the 4th earned run came off of an inherited runner scoring. The 2-run home run came to Brent Rooker. That dude's really good.
He hits home runs.
He hits home runs. He hits extra base hits a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to save the other thing that I was going to say for game 3 when we get to it. But Colin Ray, 8 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. He did get 15 whiffs in this game. So 15 swing and misses by the A's in this game. His velocity was down a little bit, about 1.1 miles per hour with less spin. Just all in all, just a pretty average start from Colin Ray with a chance to win the game.
That's all it is for.
So looking at the bullpen, Jared Koenig gave up a double that allowed an inherited runner to score. That's only the 5th inherited runner that he's allowed to score the entire season.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That is insanely good. Yoel Payamps gave another scoreless inning. He, after this game, was 11 straight scoreless innings. 16 innings pitched in those 11 straight scoreless. 16 out of 17 of his last appearances were scoreless. In those 17 appearances, he threw 16 innings, 16 strikeouts, only 4 hits and 4 walks. So I'm going to talk about a comment last night that somebody made about Yoel Payamps when we get to last night's game. Just know that. And you mentioned Bryce Wilson a little bit. Struggling a little bit lately. His spin was down on all 3 of his pitches during this game. I wasn't really worried that the Brewers were going to lose the game because he gave up a couple of runs. It was really just looking at trying to save the bullpen.
Yeah.
Offense. Already mentioned Rhys Hoskins. Dude is just smoking the ball. Scorching the ball. Smoking the ball. Hitting the ball hard. Anything you want to say about making square contact, Rhys Hoskins is doing that lately. It's going to translate. He's going to go on a hot streak. I'm fully behind Rhys Hoskins. He's going to go on a hot streak soon.
He's waiting for the Philly series in September.
Dude, he's going to hit fucking 6 home runs that series. He's going. So, just like the first game, the A's got a run in the first inning off of a solo home run, and the Brewers immediately responded with runs in the top of the second.
Yeah.
5 runs on Friday, 3 runs on Saturday. The A's starter, Boyle, threw 40 pitches in the second inning.
Yeah, he did.
That's, oh my, I can't even imagine what your arm feels like after throwing 40 pitches in a matter of about 12 minutes.
Got to be burning.
Oh, my shoulder hurts just thinking about it.
Man.
And then at one point, Willie Adames and Jake Bauers combined to generate 2 two-out runs with the Jake Bauers bomb. That's just one of the things that the Brewers scoring on with 2 outs, just what they do. They use all 3 outs, just like some teams are going to use all 9 innings. Sometimes people are going to score runs on you with 2 outs. Sometimes teams are going to score runs on you in the bottom of the 9th inning. These things happen.
They do happen.
All right, how did you feel about game 2?
Oh, my turn. Okay, here we go.
Your turn.
Here we go. I'm ready. So let's talk about – I'm going to start with the offense here, and then I'm going to go to pitching because I have some pretty good stuff on Colin Ray. 7 of 10 of the Brewers' hits were singles, but in my opinion, the Brewers' aggressive nature, which we've talked about, and I really wanted to write this down for context purposes, the aggressive nature of the Brewers on the base pads is what forced the havoc. So people always talk about the aggressiveness when it works negatively against the Brewers, sending guys at home and having them get thrown out. Rhys Hoskins has been the guy most thrown out at home. He doesn't have the greatest speed. Oh, is Jake Bauers the one that's...
I'm not saying he's the most. I'm saying he's a guy that has been.
Yeah, Jake Bauers has been thrown out at home too. So is Gary Sanchez. So is pretty much everybody on this team. Bryce Terang, I've seen, and he's probably the fastest guy on the team, been thrown out at home. But the aggressiveness that the Brewers were showing on the base paths is what was causing havoc and causing the A's pitchers to really struggle in this one. They also had 7 walks. So they had 10 hits, 7 walks, 7 of their 10 hits being singles. They were being ultra aggressive on the base pads. They were going crazy. Jake Bauers in this one scored 3 runs. One of them was from him hitting the ball over the fence, which you get a run for that. So good job, Jake Bauers. The other 2 was him showing extreme patience at the plate. He walked 2 times. He scored both the times that he walked. So when you talk about walks, and I always talk about walks with pitchers, and I'm going to have a really nice stat for you on Colin Ray here right now. So first, I'm going to talk about 12 wins for Colin Ray. That guy is 12-4 right now. That is double the amount of wins he had all of last year.
Love that.
And we were still talking about him the same way we are now, because what have we always said about him? He gives us a chance to win every time he's on the mound. And the craziest part about that stat is through the first 5 years of his career, he had 14 total wins.
Damn.
He has 12 this year. Now, this is my favorite part of the stat that I found on Colin Ray. No walks in this one, right?
Yep.
Do you realize that for the last 3 starts, including this start, we have said that same line? 0 walks in his last 3 starts.
That's a trend.
That is 19 2/3 innings pitched of 0 walk baseball. That's pretty damn good.
Love that.
You want to talk about the Brewers not having an ace? I'm not sure about that, dude. I'm starting to question some things, man. 12-4. He doesn't walk people. He gives you a chance to win. I know that he doesn't have the high strikeout numbers, and he doesn't have overpowering stuff, and he's not going to be a pitching ninja every time he starts a game. But he gives you a goddamn chance to win. And in my definition, I like winning. So if you have a guy that goes on the mound and you can feel confident that every time he goes out there, your team has a goddamn chance, that's an ace to me.
Yeah.
He's going to give you 6 innings. He's going to try to keep the score low, and he's not going to give him freebies. He's not going to beat himself. Love that. Dude, we need to get a T-shirt that says Colin Ray Fan Club, and just wear that every time that we talk. We'll change shirts and go into the Colin Ray Fan Club shirt every time we talk about him pitching because, honestly, I'm becoming a big fan of him. He's been fantastic. Now, one more quick note on the offense. We did have 6 people record RBIs, and outside of the pitcher not walking anybody, which we had 1 total walk, it was from Jared Koenig. I love when multiple people produce for the offense. That is my favorite notes to take because I write down my little RBI section, and I'm like, oh, hell yes, dude. I get to write so many names right now. I hate the games where it's just like 2, which we're going to have one in a second here. But the ones where I have 6, Bowers, Hoskins, Perkins, Contreras, Mitchell, and Churio, all at RBIs. Mitchell with 2, Bowers with 2. 4 of those RBIs that I just mentioned were with 2 outs. So you talk about 2-out RBIs. Bowers with the home run, his 11th of the year. And it's a good day when you have all those things add up. The Brewers got a series win in their last series in Oakland. So I love it, man. We can move on to Sunday's game if you're ready.
Okay. Michael said, love it, guys. Unfortunately, work is next for me. Watched your show last night this morning. Excellent. Thank you, Michael, for watching it last night and for tuning in for a while tonight. We'll plug last night's show in a little bit, or if you follow us, you can just scroll back to last night. Game 3, honestly, I hate that there's a couple things that just stand out. I'm going to say on the baseball side of it, undefeated Bears. Ooh.
Yeah, preseason champs again, baby.
Hey, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If the Super Bowl was played in July, nobody would have rings. They'd all be in Chicago. Game 3 of the A's series. Willie Adames' home run was the longest hang time of any home run he's hit in his career. An absolute definition of a moonshot home run. The other thing that came from this game is obviously the umpiring. So, Jake, I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to give before we talk about CB Buckner, but there's no way of working around it. Like, I respect Frankie Montas for giving it everything he's got. And it's unfortunate that he got shafted by some bad officiating. But, I mean, like I said, I respect him for grinding through it. But I'll let you give any other takeaways that you have before we talk about that.
All right. Well, I'll start from the top here. Frankie Montas was really good in the first 2 innings, or first 3 innings. I apologize. The A's went down in order in the first 3 innings. He was just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and he was just doing his thing. And if you're a Brewers fan and we win the first 2 games, you're looking at this and you're thinking like, we're about to sweep these son of bitches. And for context, when you talk about how the A's were 8 games over 500 coming into this series, I mean that is impressive. I don't care what their record is right now. But at that current moment, they were playing good baseball. So, I mean, for Frankie Montas, who people were very skeptical of the trade when it happened, I mean, he's been pitching really good as of late, in my opinion.
You know what? I want to know. I want to know what his stats look like as a Brewer.
You know, it's really going to suck when you look that up because, you know, that he did get shafted in this one, like you said. I'm going to have a really hard time keeping my cool when we have this discussion, but I will try my best. And this is also the game where my power pair pitcher, Aaron Ashby, came into play. He went 2 innings in this one, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, and 2 K. So he looked fantastic. Velocity was very good. You talk about Sanchez, you talk about Adames. They both had home runs. And the Brewers were 0 for 1 runners in scoring position. So, I mean, it's a 1-run loss. They won the series. We've talked about this all the time. You give me 2 out of 3, I'm going to be okay.
Yep. Now, here's the thing. So, Frankie Montas has made 5 starts with the Brewers. He's 2-1.
Mhm.
Has a 3.33 ERA in 27 innings pitched and a 1.19 WHIP. And that includes a game where he got shafted.
That's not bad at all, honestly.
That's very good.
Yeah.
At that rate, I'm excited that we get him back next year on a team option.
Yeah, me too.
So that's that part. Now, we have to talk about – I hate that we have to talk about officiating. I wish it was a conversation we never had to have because it never affected a game. I wish that was the case, but fortunately it's not the case. The umpire scorecard for this game was brutal.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
CB Buckner's accuracy was 5% below the expected accuracy with an estimated 2.34 runs in Oakland's favor. In a game the Brewers lost by 1. Now, we have said this so many times that we will not blame losses on officiating, but it's really hard to not give CB Buckner a lot of credit for it. Like, the Brewers still could have won this game. They lost by 1. It was never like they got blown out because of the officiating, but you can't just ignore it.
All right. I'm struggling to find the correct words because I don't want to just explode. This law, it sucked when you watched the game, right? Like I'm gonna be honest. Like we talk all the time about being level-headed and stuff. I was getting a little irritated watching this game. I was like, dude, what the hell is he looking at right now? I was
and
like,
then how it progressed.
Yeah, it got worse and worse. And like we talked about this with Angel Hernandez, for a long time, where you were just like, dude, you were just calling that a strike, and now it's 4 inches outside, and you're still calling it a strike. Like, what?
And that's the thing. Like, if you're bad, just be consistent. So at least even for both teams.
Right.
The fact that Montas is painting corners and getting them called for balls, and then Blake Perkins is striking out on balls that are like this far outside the strike zone. Like, that's where it gets to the point of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like, as a fan, I just made some of the dumbest noises of all time because I was stuck in between words. But as a fan, you just sit there and you're just like, what? Like, what other response are you supposed to have? Like, you just look at it, you're like, what did I just see right now? Is the pitch calm on the screen? Is that way off? Like, what's wrong here? But clearly it was just him. And I don't want to say it, but maybe he had an agenda. I don't know. Maybe he wanted the A's to win their final game against the Brewers in their stadium. I'm not sure. I'm not, a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. He was just really bad.
He could just be bad at his job.
He could just be bad at his job. I mean,
we've kind of talked about this with things like the obstruction rule and stuff like that, and officiating and umpiring. I'm starting to see it suggested a little bit more that, like, at the end of the year, like, the bottom 3 from the Major League Baseball and the top 3 from AAA should swap. And I'm getting more in favor of that.
I 100% agree. I don't care about how long you've been in either. If you're excelling in one and you're decelerating in another, you go down.
Yeah. Send them down.
Make them earn it again.
Yeah. Yep. I like that idea. I get that there's like umpiring unions and shit, but
yeah.
I don't see any reason why to not do something like that.
Should be a privilege to be at the top level, right?
What's that?
Should be a privilege to be at the top level.
Yeah, and if you're really good at your job, you should get promoted.
Yep.
Maybe a potentially warm take. It would almost make watching umpiring fun because you're watching stats. You can see an umpire who's really desperate to be accurate because he's in danger of being sent down.
Well, I'll tell you what it would create. It would create urgency.
Yeah.
A little fire under somebody's ass every once in a while is not a bad thing.
I kind of like that. Okay, so I want to end on this, and then I'm going to use it to transition into the Giants game. The last game that we have to talk about is seeing people complaining that the Brewers gave up 4 runs to the A's or 5 runs to the A's. Their literal average is 3.98 runs per game. They literally average 4 runs a game. So somebody being on Twitter, this is where this happened, somebody being like, the pitching is trash. They gave up 4 runs to the A's. Simple Google search would have saved you from looking stupid. The A's literally average 4 runs a game.
I think people, I'm just going to be mean. I think people are just fucking lazy and stupid, okay? I think people are stupid because they're lazy. That's how I really feel.
Yeah.
Instead of taking 2.5 minutes to look something up and, again, form their own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to think for yourself, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I have to say this PSA. But you could literally just Google some shit, type in some words. If you don't know how to look it up, look up average runs per game. And then it'll bring you probably to MLB.com is what I would assume be the first thing that would pop up. And you can click on that. And then from there, it's going to show you what they average. Yeah. Literally put in a little effort instead of just following what you think is happening or what you heard happen a long time ago.
And that's the thing, is to not trust your feelings over facts. And if you don't know the facts, find them. Or ask a question instead of just being the impulse, the first thing that you do is whine. So much whining.
Oh my God.
And now, like I said, the A's, they are a bad team, sure.
Yeah.
But they have good players.
They do. They're actually starting to put something a little bit together, in my opinion.
Brent Rooker, that dude's a stud.
Yeah.
The dude's batting .286. He has 30 home runs. Miguel Andujar is batting .285. Shea Langoliers has 22 home runs. Like, they have good players.
That's what I'm saying. They're starting to put something together. And they had a young pitcher on the mound. Was that Sunday's game where they had a young pitcher? The 22-year-old?
Saturday's game was the young
Saturday was the
Boyle. Dude's got
he
like
looked pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah. The Brewers made him throw 40 pitches in the second inning. But other than that, he was pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said,
he's an exciting prospect for them.
Yeah. I mean, the fans of Sacramento are going to like the A's for the next couple of years because they're starting to get some young guys who they draft well. That's where they're going to play next, by the way. If you didn't know, they're going to be playing in Sacramento for a few years till 2028, I believe it is. And then they're going to be moving to Vegas when their baseball stadium is done.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, even the White Sox, they're a horrible team. They have a couple good players.
Yep.
Okay. The conversation that I want to have to go from the last game of the A's series into the Giants series, the first game, because yes, the Giants have a bad record. They have good players too. The pitcher that the Brewers were facing last night, Logan Webb, was second in Cy Young last year.
Oh, was he? Did you find that out on Google?
No, actually, I heard it during the broadcast when I was watching the game.
Oh, you could do that too. That's interesting.
Yeah. So the guys that are talking, one of them is Vinny Rottino. We've had him on the show multiple times. Dude knows ball.
He's pretty smart.
He really is. And on top of him being a former player, current analyst, he's also a former scout.
He knows baseball.
He knows ball.
Yeah, he's lived and breathed baseball for a long time.
The thing that I'm going to take away from this is I'm tired of hearing the word should. I'm tired of people whining about the Brewers losing to teams that they should, quote unquote, should beat. And this is what I said to the person that I saw say it last night. What I will say to anybody who says it at any point during the rest of the regular season, if the Brewers lose to a team that they, quote unquote, should beat, if every single thing in sports happened the way that it should on paper, nobody would watch because you would already know what's going to happen.
I mean, the Giants have the 10th highest payroll in all of baseball. So if we're talking about should, the Giants should beat the Brewers. If you're looking at payroll, I mean,
that's a way to bring it up. So here's an example. The 2024 Milwaukee Brewers.
It's a good one.
If you go back to March and you look at the Brewers, they are a team that should win about 75 to 80 games. They're already there.
Yeah, I was going to say, they did that, didn't they?
So they could lose out for the last 35 games of the season and still finish with 75 wins. And the Cubs would still probably only win the Central by a game or two. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. So the other part of this, and again, this is people whining about it, we are over 3/4 of the way through the season. Why are you still trying to convince yourself that the Brewers are not a good baseball team?
It's a good question, actually.
That's how I see this. People whining need to stop acting like the Brewers aren't a good baseball team. Because they are.
They are.
They've been 21 games over 500 at one point. They've had the largest lead in their division in baseball at one point. Like, they've been challenging the Phillies and the Dodgers for the top 2 seeds in the National League at one point. Like, the Brewers aren't lucky to be where they are. At this point, we're over 120 games into the season. We are over 3/4 of the way done. The Brewers are not here by accident.
No.
So, going into last night, the 3 things that I wanted to say: 1, Blake Perkins, you already touched on this a little bit when you made him your underrated performer. Him judging the ball as it's in the air to time his jump and his glove, fantastic. Could be play of the year. Very well could be. I wouldn't argue with you if you said it was the number 1 play of the year.
I'd have to go back and see them all, but, I mean, we've had a lot of really good catches this year.
Yeah. Second thing. Jackson Churio's 20 years old and hitting 449-foot bombs. What?
He's taking squares in the new scoreboard.
Dude, the dude is 20 and he's hitting 449. Are you shitting me? What if that dude gets stronger?
479.
He's gonna break one of the panels in the back that the Brewers can open and close.
I hope so, dude. That would be legendary.
Oh my god, the fact that Jackson Churio's 20 years old and he hit a 449-foot home run is insane.
I love it.
And the last thing is more of an analysis thing. Is if you're an opposing starter and you're preparing to face the Brewers, you got to just be dreading it.
Gotta be.
Even Logan Webb, who, like I said, finished second in the Cy Young race last year in the National League, you just have to be dreading facing the Brewers, knowing that they're going to grind at bats and drive up pitch counts. Logan Webb had to throw 33 pitches in the first inning. That's tough.
It is. Yeah, man. If I'm gonna piggyback off this if you don't mind.
Yep, have at it. Give me your thoughts.
Talking about dreading that lineup, man. They could drag out at bats. They'll just freaking foul ball, foul tip you to freaking death. They'll bunt whenever they have to. They'll steal a damn base, and they will score runs with 2 outs. I mean, you have to just be completely locked in for every single pitch against the Brewers. The Brewers are a fun team to watch.
Yep.
And we are blessed to live in this state, to have them as our team. We got to be fans of this team. That was such a great question, the way you posed it. Why are you trying to convince yourself they're bad? They're fun. They steal bases. They bunt. That's for all you boomers out there. They bunt.
Ugh.
They're starting to hit home runs. I mean, they play crazy defense. They have long stretches where pitchers just absolutely dominate. Players get on fire. I mean, Adames has been jacking home runs all year long. I mean, Jackson Churio's up to 16. He joined an elite list of players that hit 16 home runs in their rookie season or 20 years younger season.
Got a legit shot to go 2020.
He does.
20.
I think 2020 at 20, dude. That's a
graphic.
That's a graphic. If we thought the same thing, that's a graphic. But for the Brewers to lose this one, to get into the game breakdown a little bit, for the Brewers to lose this one and Payamps to be the one to give up the run, and I'm not going to touch too much on it, but dude, it happens. Okay, the guy was literally
16 of 17 scoreless before this.
Yeah, dude, he literally dominated for a half a month. If you break it down, if he pitched every single day, like you take a half of a month, he dominated.
Great.
I'm going to go on a limb.
Somebody saying like, "Oh, why do I feel like I need to turn my TV off every time Payamps is coming in?" And I said because you think with your feelings, not with your brain.
Well, either that or you haven't watched since April. So I mean, that's your problem, buddy. But I'm going to go out on a limb and just assume that you have never been as good at your job for 14 days straight as Joel Payamps has in Major League Baseball for 14 straight times. I can pretty confidently make that bet. But the ball was flying last night, and then you're talking about elements. I mean, the ball was flying. There was 5 home runs in the game last night. 2 by the Brewers, 3 by the Giants. 3's bigger than 2. They scored 5. We scored 4. That's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yep.
It is what it is. And I mean, I really don't have any issue with losing one game because I can control my emotions like a normal human being.
You win tonight, you win tomorrow, and you get a series win.
Yeah, and then we go into a 4-game series in Cincinnati, which we're gonna win 2 on Friday. So I mean, relax.
Yeah. So after that, we have a 4-game series at Cincinnati now, like Jake said. And then we are back home to face St. Louis. We will have the first 2 games of that series next week.
Yep.
So that's what we got for the Brewers. Anything else you wanna say on the Brewers before we switch?
5 wins for the Brewers coming into next week's episode. They're sweeping the Reds.
I would like 5 wins as well.
They're sweeping the Reds.
Well, so you're thinking 5-1?
Yep.
All right, I'm with that. I like it. You ready to switch?
Is it? Can we take a moment? Okay, we can let Mikey in. But
Yeah, you're gonna let Mike in.
I want Mikey to be part of this moment. Can we take a moment, fellas? Because this is the first season preview that we have for football. It is back. We have made it. It has been a long summer, but we're here, boys. We are here. It's
no more watching
season,
these
baby.
highlights. No more watching highlights, boys. It's game time. Finally.
Hey, let's go, dude. I'm so jacked up. I kept thinking, dude, just make it to Friday. Just make it to Friday. Just make it to Friday. And we have fucking football, dude.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's fucking go, boys.
So very excited now.
Excited to be here, like always.
We have a new structure for this season as well, which I'm very excited about.
Yes.
So this season, I'll save it before we get to the preview. Let's do our record predictions and our bold predictions first. So record predictions, we have a head and heart for the record predictions, a little more analytical one, and then a little more optimistic one. So, Mike, I'm going to go to you first because you're our Badger guy. Give me your record prediction from the head first.
I got to see it. That's what I'm going to – that's my, thing going into this season. I know last year, I think we were all pretty high. I think we all had fairly high records with this team. I probably should have been better in terms of evaluating when you got new offense coming in, new defense, new everything essentially. And, we learned first and foremost what happened, obviously. So I went with 8-4 in my head. That is there's still a little bias with that because I don't know. I just look at this schedule and, just breaking it down here. I do think I look at 2 things, right? The first thing I look at is obviously the Alabama game. That's one of the biggest. I don't know if we're ever going to play Alabama at Camp Randall again. That's the marquee matchup of this schedule, right? And then the one thing that I really pay attention to is that 3-game stretch with Penn State, Iowa, and Oregon. I think I wrote this down as an important note. I think arguably that the Penn State game specifically might be the most important game on this schedule. I say that because the Badgers have not beaten Penn State since 2011. That's pushing Ohio State close to the last time we beat Ohio State. And guess who was quarterback when we beat Penn State that last time? He's in the NFL.
Wilson.
I believe it was Russell Wilson. Yes, it was Russell Wilson. So we're due to beat these guys, and I think you could argue it's one of the most important games because you look at everything else. I know Oregon's going to be Oregon. Iowa, I know Iowa's right up there though too because I think this might be our second or third year in a row. I mean, if we go down against them, but just looking at it, it's a tough schedule. But I got 8-4, so from the head.
All right, so I'm gonna jump in here while Tyler is looking something up real quick. Get out of my goddamn notebook, you son of a bitch. I wrote down that stat about Penn State. So for my record prediction from the head, I went 9-3. So the 3 losses I have to Bama. I think that one will be really close, but I don't think that the Badgers will have quite enough. And I think it's a little bit too early in the season for them to have enough to beat Bama. Bama's ranked number 5 or number 6 in the country right now. I mean, they're Bama. They dominated for a whole decade. I will say though, the things that are in favor is no Nick Saban and Bama on the road. That plays a big favor for the Badgers. So I think it'll be a little closer than people think. The next loss I have is at Iowa. I mean, that's just an incredibly tough place to play. They play a really tough brand of football. That place is one of the best home stadiums, not just in the Big Ten, but in the entire country. So I could definitely see them losing that one. And then I have them losing to Oregon. So then you think, are they going to beat Penn State? You know why we're going to beat Penn State? Because the boys are going to be jacked up for homecoming, boys. It is homecoming week. They're not losing on homecoming to Penn State. They get their first win against them since 2011. Like Mikey said, get out of my notebook. 9-3. You can write it down. But I'm with it, dude. I'm here.
So I'm lower than you guys. Sorry.
That's fine.
From the head, looking strictly, we knew this coming out of last season that their schedule this year was a gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
And if the Badgers were to finish 7-5, like I have them from the head, I'm not going to be mad if they go 7-5 this year. Now, the 5 that I put on here were Oregon, at Iowa, Penn State, Alabama, and at USC, just because it's going to be their first time going there. They're going to the West Coast. It's a longer trip than they're normally making during Big Ten season. So I put that one on there as a potential loss. So we can go to the heart predictions. Now, Mike, give me your record prediction from the heart.
It's 10-2. It's honestly 10-2 for me, even from the heart. I think Oregon is pretty much a favorite to win, not just the Big Ten, but just the
Everything.
whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel's a Heisman Trophy finalist for sure. This is a foregone conclusion. We haven't even played a goddamn down yet.
Yeah.
If that whole team stays healthy, I mean, Oregon's going to be right there till the end. It's going to be them or Ohio State. And then I put Alabama as a second loss. But what kind of like to Jake's point, I do expect us to be in the game. I really, really do. Fans got to remember, we do have a bunch of experience coming back from last year's team. We have a bunch of like upperclassmen, both sides of the ball yet. Like, as far as, whether it's like the overcome adversity part or being like too intimidated about, stuff along those lines, I think we're in a good spot. Sometimes there's just more talent on the field, right? So I got 10-2 from the heart. I do think the actual like ceiling of this team could potentially be 11-1, like the ceiling, like the literally tip top of it. But I just think Oregon's too good. Iowa's definitely beatable. I mean, we're on the road and everything. I know we can beat them. I don't think Penn State is still where they're going to be. They do have a new offensive coordinator coming in, Andy Kotelnicki, who for any Wisconsin like college football fans, he was at UW-Whitewater. He was the offensive coordinator under Lance Leipold at Kansas and at Whitewater. So that's why I pay attention to them a little more too in the offseason. But definitely those two are beatable games. I do think going to USC, I love going into that game because, number one, we actually have a bye before we go and play out there between the Bama and the USC game. They're also coming off. They're also playing Michigan at Michigan the week before. So hopefully we're going to get them at a good time. Maybe they're not going to be quite as healthy, or maybe just not in the right mindset, kind of. So
Maybe
I'm
the
hoping we
Badgers
just
come out
catch
there a
them.
little early too and get kind of acclimated to the time change.
And I'm hoping we kind of just catch them off guard. So I'm actually really high on that USC game for the Badgers personally.
Yeah.
Miller Moss, I don't know. I think USC is still pretty overrated in my view. I think they're going to get smacked in the Big Ten a little bit personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been wrong on this show plenty of times before, so we'll see.
Do you guys remember when Nebraska came over to the Big Ten?
Oh, of course I do.
That's my prediction for USC for the first couple of years, and I'm not shitting you.
That was the
think
Russell
UCLA is in a
Wilson coming
similar
out
boat.
party.
I think UCLA actually has a better chance to succeed. They'll be a little bit more.
They're built more defense first, in my opinion.
Yeah, where USC, dude, they literally got ranked because they're in California. But whatever, that's a discussion for a different day. So from the heart, I also have 10-2. I also have losses to Bama and Oregon. Dylan Gabriel, dude, I watched that Texas and Oklahoma game last year. That kid is accurate.
He's good.
And
He's
you
real
put
good.
him in a wide open offense like Oregon. Oh my goodness, dude. You're just asking for trouble. So I agree with you, Mike. You can just write him down as a Heisman finalist as long as he stays healthy. The only thing is both those games are at home, so Badgers will have a chance, and it's going to be on the fans to show up. They sell alcohol there now, okay? I don't care if you're underage. Just ask the guy next to you to buy it. We're going to buy it for you anyways. That's how we are. Wisconsin nice. I'll buy you a beer. You just cheer loud, be stupid idiot, college students. That's what we'll do. So be loud for those games, okay? Because we're going to need you.
Not Jake over here is supporting underage drinking on the
We're in Wisconsin, dude. We can just accept it. Just accept it.
For our legal team, we don't condone underage drinking.
We've never done that.
Our very excessive legal team that we have over at Wisco Fanatics. From the heart, I have the Badgers at 9-3, and it is that tough 3-game stretch where it's Penn State, at Iowa, and then Oregon. From the heart, I do have the Badgers beating Alabama because it's in Wisconsin.
I like that.
So that's my thing, and I have the Badgers winning at USC from the heart as well. So 9-3 from the heart. That's where I'm at for the record predictions. You guys ready to get bold?
Always ready.
Let's get bold.
All right. So we're gonna do this. We each have 3. Now, what I want to do is each of you give me your least spicy bold prediction, and we'll go in a circle one at a time, and we'll get progressively bolder. So, Mike, give me your least spicy bold prediction.
Trying to think here. What would be the best one to? Okay. It's we sort of talked about this before. We kind of mentioned it last week with the whole Senior Bowl thing. But number one, I got the Badgers will have at least 11 NFL draft picks when this season's over.
Ooh,
that would be a lot.
Okay. I think if there's some juniors that go to the draft early, I think that's possible.
Yeah. I saw I think it was 13. I think we talked about a lot. 13 seniors got invited to the Senior Bowl. I think it was.
Watch list.
I just thought there's plenty of opportunity. I think it's definitely doable. And then that doesn't even include Rico, for example. So I got, at least 11 draft picks. That's going to be number one for me.
I like it. I'll give my first one because my first one isn't super spicy. Connor said he sees 8 wins. That would be right in the middle of mine, so I'm not going to argue with you. Yeah. My first one, not super spicy, but my first one is that Mabry Matoyer succeeds Braden Locke as QB2 and the starter in 2025.
Okay. I like that.
Good QB watch for sure.
Yeah, next year will be interesting with the quarterback room.
Mm-hmm.
We can go, every position damn near. Not just, yeah.
All right, Jake. All right, so I did my bold predictions a little differently. I went offense, defense, and random. So I was random being like team. So I'm gonna do my defense one first. I think that's the least spicy. Hallman repeats his numbers from last year, becomes a first-round pick, and I said maybe the Packers. Not the deepest group on Green Bay with cornerbacks. If Eric Stokes doesn't work out, could they maybe draft a first-round corner, Ricardo Hallman, keep him home? Just saying. I would love that. I would love that.
That's the next jersey on Jake's list then for sure.
Malik Willis already claimed number 2, but man, a Ricardo Hallman 2, a single-digit corner. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or a 0. Oh, dude, if Ricardo Hallman came to the Packers and wore number 0,
bro, that would be disgusting.
That'd be fire. All right, Mike, give me your second one.
Should I go? It kind of relates to Jake somewhat, so I'll just go defense. I got the Badgers are going to have two first-team All-Americans. And I just put it's going to be Rico, it's going to be Hunter Wohler. That dude is an All-American for sure. I'm excited to watch them both play. Hunter Wohler especially. I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday. They came out with a clip on the Wisconsin football page basically about his background at Muskego prior to committing and everything. And just watching that, it was like a 12-minute video. It was really cool to watch. I suggest you guys should take a glance at that. But no, that kid is due. Rico's due again, I feel like. And he might not even get as much action this year because no one wants to throw it to him. We've talked about that before too. But both those dudes are going to the NFL. I think our defense, I'm going to talk about it in a little while with the secondary, as you guys know. So I'm excited to watch this group, particularly in the secondary. Hunter Wooler's a stud. He's going to be in it. This is his year to not just be all conference, but all American as well, alongside Rico.
Yeah.
So Connor threw a bold prediction in here. He said that he thinks the recruiting side, the Badgers are going to flip Gentry. It's his first name, Zadian Gentry.
So basically, it's a top 3 with Wisconsin. I want to say Baylor, and then SMU, who he's currently committed to right now. So, they've been trying to flip him for a while now. So hopefully we can get that done. We love our lengthy cornerbacks with this new coaching staff for sure. This is another 6'1", 6'2" corner with blazing speed. So we'd love to have him.
So you guys both went defense on your last 2. I'll play along. My defensive one that I have is the Badgers have 3 players over 100 tackles.
Damn.
And it's going to be Hunter Wooler, Jake Chaney, and Jaheim Thomas.
I love that. I love that.
I could see literally all 3 of those guys line up in different spots on the field. Like not just like being designated as like middle linebackers, or in Hunter's case, a safety. You're going to see those dudes all over the field. So that is more like I could definitely see that happening. Like,
all right, Jake, give me your second one.
All right. So you're going to hear this. And you're going to be like, wow, that's not your craziest bold prediction. Because this is bold prediction, boys. We got to amp it up. Badgers make the college football playoff, but not just that. They make the Final Four in the college football playoffs.
Okay,
now we're talking.
I will say a loss in the Final Four would hurt like hell. But it would also be exciting as hell to have the season go that long.
Oh,
yeah.
I like it.
Mike's got to crack his back for the last one. All right, Mike, give me your last one.
This isn't as spicy, but I mean, it's still spicy. So I'm not going to name names on this one because with the depth in this room, I think it's open for interpretation. I got the Badgers are going to have not only 1, but 2 1,000-yard rushers and a third one. And there's going to be a third guy who's going to rush for 500 yards. I keep going back to this team and I look at, okay, what position group really has the most depth and like the most like proven depth like right now. And I'm just staring at this running back room and I'm just like, I think there's so much opportunity in this running back room to like have one hell of a year. And when you sprinkle on like 2 highly touted freshmen or even Jackson Aker, who can play running back. You got Katie Akamel, you can play running back. We have options in that room, and which is why I honestly think we're going to be running the ball probably more this year than pass. If you ask me, I think we will. That's just my gut feeling going into it because I think we have the most proven depth in that group. Everyone but the freshmen, of course, have experience. So I think we just sometimes you just give it to your bell cows to get the shit done. And I think we're going to be ending up running the ball more than passing, believe it or not, in the air raid.
Mike, let's link arms.
Yes.
I have the Badgers will have 2 running backs over 750 yards, but we'll have 4 over 400.
Okay. Oh. So that would be 16, at least 1,600 yards. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're kind of thinking the same.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Okay.
Connor threw out that Amari Snowden will get in the 2 deep by the end of the year. I'm on board with that one as well.
We would love that.
We love it, especially the guests that are on this show.
Absolutely. If the dudes who came on the Wisco Fanatics show do well, we couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah.
Okay, Jake, give me your last one.
Buckle up, Mikey. Buckle up.
Okay.
You might fall out of your chair when you hear this one. The Badgers will have 6 first-team All Big Ten players on offense.
Ooh.
Just offense. 6. Tyler Van Dyke, I wrote him down. I predicted him. Tyler Van Dyke, I had to pick a running back, and I went with Malusi because he's probably going to catch the ball a little bit more.
Go.
Pauling, Jake Renfro, our left tackle, Jack Nelson, was blanking on the first name. I apologize. And Riley Molman. So 3 offensive linemen, a wide receiver, a running back, and a quarterback, all first-team Big Ten. Let's get it, boys. That's how you go 10-2.
That screams Final Four for sure, like you said before.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
100%. I'm on board, boys. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Connor said would love to see Jackson Aker do well. I went to school with him and played football with him. That is
really
awesome.
I mean, you know some guys that would love to interview him. Just saying, Connor.
Yeah, we're all for it.
I'll be really nice to you in fantasy football if you make that happen. I'm not bribing you, but I'm bribing you.
All for
All
it.
right. Here we go, boys. It's time to do a preview. We have a preview this week. Oh, and Connor, you are with us on Patreon, so you'll get to watch this game with us on Friday night.
Yes.
We have a preview going now. I kind of mentioned this a little bit. I'm going to tell this about this now. We have changed the way that we are going to do our recaps and our previews by breaking up the offense and the defense and adding special teams into this. We have designated things. So last year we did this with the Packers where we broke it up where everybody's got a handful of topics to watch. And it makes it easier to focus on just a couple things instead of trying to watch the entire game and then coordinate what each of us are going to talk about in between Saturday and Wednesday. We just have the things that we're going to focus on this season, and that's what we're going to do. So this year, Jake is going to focus on the D-line, the O-line, and special teams.
Yep.
Mike is going to do the secondary and the run game. And I'm going to do the linebackers and the passing game. It's going to make it easier so that the three of us can each just focus on one aspect of offense, one aspect on defense, and be able to tell the other two what we're seeing in between plays and going through these things instead of all three of us trying to watch all 11 players on each side of the ball and still try to find, some things that maybe nobody else is noticing. It's going to be easier for us to find those things if we're each just watching one section of the team at a time. So I'm really looking forward to us doing it this way this year. So we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go to Jake first, and I'm going to have Jake talk about the defensive line.
So when I was thinking about doing it this week, I just wanted to introduce everybody to the players that you will be seeing the most. I wrote down the numbers because some people are just numbers people, especially when it comes to football. I understand that. When we were watching my son's game last night, we kept looking for 22 because they're all little and they're all wearing a white helmet with a red jersey, and we got to look for numbers. So that's just how it is when you're up in the stands and these kids are this dang big up there. So on the defensive line at the end position, so the verbiage on the defense for this year is 3-4, but they do name 5 DBs. So that obviously is an illegal formation, so that cannot happen. But they have 3 defensive line positions. So the first one is James Thompson. Everybody should know who that is. Big number 90. He's a redshirt senior. I think he's absolutely going to eat this year. The aggressiveness from last year to this year, I think, will be fantastic. The second one, the backup to him is Eli Hills, also a senior. So what I noticed when I was doing a little bit more research on this is we have a lot of seniors, especially on the D-line and on the whole offensive line as well. So then you get to the nose tackle position. That's where you have Kurt Neal, number 92. And then you have Cade McDonald backing him up, number 96. So that's just 2 big boys, 2 guys that are in that position. You're going to have to be a space eater. So you're going to take up 2 blocks. That's really what you're going to have to do, especially if Tyler's prediction of 100 tackles for our middle linebacker is going to happen. These guys are going to have to feast, and they feast in a different way. So one thing that we would love to do is to teach people how to watch football, how to watch sports with us. If you're watching the defensive lineman for the Badgers, the guy in the middle should get blocked by 2 people. If he is not, we are not going to have a good day stopping the run. Okay, first and foremost. Then you get over to the D tackle position. So when D end, nose tackle, and they're called D tackle. First one is Brandon Lane, number 95. He is not a senior. So he's not a senior, right? Yeah. He's the only one that's not a senior. Number 95. And then the backup for him, his number is so close. Like, you could have just went one more number, buddy. Number 68, Ben Barton. I mean, you would have been my favorite player if you would have had one more number up. But he's a sophomore, so he's the least experienced of the 2 deep. So he's a redshirt sophomore. So 3 years in the school. So that is the D line. I wanted to introduce everybody to. They're going to have to take up blocks in a 3-4. We have a lot of experience with that with the Packers. The big boys up front have to take up blocks.
So I have the linebackers this year, and I didn't have all the introduction. there was a fair amount of turnover in the linebacker room, and we went through the additions and departures last week. And what I plan to do is when this show is over to cut up part 1 from last week and part 2 from this week and put them together so that people can listen to the additions and departures and then hear those names and then hear our bold predictions, record predictions, and our preview. But what I will say on the linebacker group is as we're going into this first game, I am so excited to watch this absolutely stacked group get on the field and to see how the playing time is spread around. See if anybody comes out showing that they are great in a group full of guys who I think are all really good. And that starts with Jake Chaney and Jaheim Thomas. We talked about the transfers that are coming in, guys like talking about guys coming in like Tackett Curtis, obviously Jaheim Thomas, like I just mentioned. My dark horse to watch on the defensive side of the ball last week was a linebacker, Christian Allegro. So very excited to see how this linebacker group gets out on the field. And then Mike on the defensive side of the ball is going to watch the secondary.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this group. There was definitely some flashes of success, as we know from last season. You could argue it was probably the bright spot on this defense overall. So basically, I'm going to bring up our two cornerbacks, and then our slot corner, and then our 2 safeties that you're probably going to see for the most part, and mention some others in the 2 deep. So I'll start with the cornerbacks first. It starts with the All-American Ricardo. You guys know him, All-American, 7 interceptions last year. Just a brilliant season all around. He's going to be a huge part as to why we're going to be very good on defense this year. So no more to say than that. I would go with. So cornerback 2. He was my dark horse from last week. That it's Mr. Nizier Forkreen. I mentioned it last week. He grew to 6'2". He gained 20 pounds in the offseason from 170 to 190. Mentioned how, Coach Fick and Coach Collins absolutely raved about the guy, like how seriously he took his training, because especially going into last season, he got on campus really late. He got a late start on some stuff. And I think, at the end of the day, it kind of caught up to him at the end of the year. So I think going into this season, he's going to be way more conditioned. He's going to be more primed and ready to go. And, he's going to have a tough task ahead of him, because I think quarterbacks are still going to want to more so throw his way versus Rico, at least to start the year. There's going to be a lot of action his way, but yeah, he's definitely a big X factor into all of this. So, and then this is an interesting story, actually. So the starting slot corner, the guy's name is Max Lofi. Now, if Badger fans don't know who he is, he's got an interesting story to him. So he's been in the program for actually quite some time. I want to say he's going to be a 5th-year senior. No one remembers him from last year. That's because he was out all of last season. Now, it was back in November of 2022. He had an ankle injury. So he missed the rest of that season, and then it costed him all of 2023. And I want to credit Evan Flood. He actually wrote a really good article about this today or yesterday, I think it was, about his process, right? So when the new coaching staff came in, they literally had the only thing they could do with evaluating Max Lofi, because he was hurt, was watching his film from, the season before. That's literally all they had to go off of. They couldn't see him practice last year or anything like that. So it was mentioned in the article, like Lofi was talking about, like how many times there were some difficult conversations with the coaching staff in this process. Are you going to be a part of the future? Like what's the story here? And Luke Fickell actually talked about in his press conference actually on Monday. He said he was the most, besides Nizier Forkreen, he was the most improved player on the roster in spring and fall camp. I don't think there's another guy in our program that I have as much respect for because of the way he's handled everything. So this guy's had quite the off season, to say the least, and from where he's come from and now to take over that starting slot corner role, I think that speaks volumes for sure, because his staff literally had no clue who he was for the most part until they finally got to see him in spring. And, I think it took a lot to, come back from that, because they brought in RJ Delancey. we have Jonas DeCluna. We have Xavier Lucas, who's the highly touted freshman who I think might end. Well, he is in the 2 deep, but you guys get my point regarding this. So very excited to watch him grow. And then, as I mentioned, in the 2 deep, we got Xavier Lucas, who I think no matter what, he's going to see snaps this year. He's just one of those guys that you just can't keep off the field. The blazing speed, 6'2". He's going to get playing time for sure. Then you got RJ Delancey, Toledo transfer. Yeah, I'm sure he'll get some playing time here and there. And then to wrap it up, Jonas DeCluna, one of those transfers from Cincinnati. So that's the 2 deep in the cornerback room. And then for the safety room, it starts with our guy, everyone's guy, Hunter Waller. 120 total tackles last year. Soon to be All-American in my view. He's going to be primed for a good year. He's a heart and soul of this defense. He's a big reason why I think this team takes a big step, not only as a program, but from a mentality standpoint too, being one of the captains as well. So just you're going to see him all over the field. You're going to see him blitz. You're going to see him come downhill and just mess up some dudes. So I
want to see more of Hunter Wohler. We saw it a handful of times last year. I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head where he comes around the edge of the offensive line and gets a run stop in the backfield when they're trying to go the other direction.
Yeah.
It's
great. And then the other starting safety, at least for now, we got Preston Zagman. He low-key had a good season last year too. If you remember the Ohio State game, he had a big pick in the end zone. That was a big part of like how he still stayed in that game because they were driving on us a little bit. But 49 total tackles. He's going to be playing quite a bit. And then the backups, I expect these dudes to be on the field a lot too. Austin Brown, he played a little slot corner last year too, but he's got plenty of experience at safety as well. Like I said, he's going to be out there. 36 total tackles. Like he's going to have a good year, I think. And then Kamoy Latu, it's his last year in the program. I expect he's going to be out there for a bit. He's the hard-hitting guy. He just needs to, clean up the technique a little bit and, just go ball out. So that is the safety room.
All right, so Jake is going to be the transition guy going from the offense or the defense to the offense, and Jake is going to take care of the special teams and then go into offensive line.
Yeah, so going to special teams, obviously we all know about Nathan Vakos. I gave some cool stats on him last year where he only missed 1 extra point in high school. It was the first one that he ever kicked, and then after that, he just made the rest of them because he was just like, I didn't like how I felt after I did that, so I'm just going to make all of them. So that was good on him. He had a little bit of a rocky start kind of season last year. Wasn't as highly touted as I thought, at least. He's a junior this year. Then we have sophomore Atticus Bertrams as our starting punter. He's a sophomore, so I like that we're kind of a little bit younger on the younger side in our special teams, so he can stick around for a little while. He has pretty big leg, in my opinion. Kickoffs are going to be handled by Gavin Laham. He's kicker number 97, which is like fucking sick, dude. Like kicker number 97. I mean, Fakos is number 90, so I mean, sick. And then our punter's 49. So I mean, none of this makes sense. I don't understand anything about numbers in college football. Kick return is going to be handled by a transfer, Tyrell Henry. He's a transfer from Michigan State, if I am thinking correctly. He's wide receiver number 14. And then our punt return, they have in the 2 deep at least, they have Vinny Anthony II as the leader in that. Vinny Anthony's the backup on kickoffs, and the backup punt returner is actually Trech Kekahuna, which I really like. So I think special teams this year is going to be a little bit better for the Badgers. I expect it to be better. I think Tyrell Henry will, have a shot of some energy for the kick return team, which would be much needed to get the offense going earlier in games, which was a problem last year.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jake. Keep talking. Jump right into the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that gets to talk about the kickers, the punters, and the people that do the ugly work this year, okay? That's what I am looking at this
You are the trench god this year.
I am the trench god. I like that. I might change my name on here on the bottom to trench god, okay?
GAWD.
You get the starters, right? So the left tackle is a redshirt senior. That is Jack Nelson, number 79, okay? The backup for him is Kevin Haywood. That's a freshman. Be bad if he came in. Be really bad. No offense to him, but I do not want to see him against Alabama. That would be terrifying for Tyler Van Dyke. The starter at left guard, number 56, Joe Brunner. He is a redshirt sophomore, so he's still on the younger side. We get him for a couple more years, hopefully. The backup to him is also a freshman, a redshirt freshman, James Durant. So I'm just kind of giving everybody an idea of the depth chart so you can look forward to this. Now at center, we talked about this a lot. Mike touched on him a little bit. Jake Renfro, redshirt senior. When he came in, the snaps were looking a little bit cleaner. Mikey touched on that last week. Number 57. So hopefully he has a healthy year this year. Backup is Kerry Kodenko. So right guard is Joe Huber, also a redshirt senior. By the way, our right tackle is also a redshirt senior. So we have lots of experience at starters. Joe Huber is number 60. And then right tackle, like I just said, Riley Mallman. That guy's probably the best offensive lineman on this team right now, in my opinion. Right tackle Mallman. He'll probably go to the NFL. So if you're counting, there's probably 3 for sure guys that'll probably get drafted. Mallman, Hallman, and why am I not remembering 24's name?
Waller.
I'm sorry. I was so in tune with these offensive linemen that I forgot about the DBs. I'm sorry. That's Mikey's job. So
right.
That's why I'm here. Each other makes that tough.
What did you say?
I said saying Mallman and Hallman right after each other makes it tough to remember anything else.
Yeah, dude, they were rhyming, and I was just like, yo, what is happening? But that's the offensive line. Very senior-led, and they should be better. I hope for the sake of everything that is holy that they are better at run blocking this year because we are going to need to run the damn ball. I don't care about air raid or dairy raid or whatever the hell you want to call it. They need to run the ball. That's how football works.
So I'm here to talk about the passing game.
Get it.
What a transition.
Hammers on the run. We might have to change the order on that. I just had it so that we went in the same order of talking, but we might have to change that so that the O-line can lead to the run game first. But as far as the passing game goes, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Looking at it, I just want to see who all gets involved. We talked last week again, all the guys in here. We talked about dark horse guys. We talked about breakout candidates. And there were guys all over the wide receiver rooms who were mentioned. Obviously, we know Will Pauling is really, really good. After that, I mean, Bryson Green, Tretch Kekahuna, CJ Williams, Quincy Burrows, Joe Griffin, Tyrell Henry, Vinny Anthony. I'm excited to see who all gets involved in this room. And, not to make it a parallel, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed over the last 2 seasons with the Green Bay Packers is seeing how their passing game is distributed among all of the players that they have that can make plays. I'm really excited to see same thing with the Badgers this year, to see how the distribution goes as far as the passing game is concerned. So I can't wait to watch these wide receivers. And I'm really excited about this, the way that we're doing this and breaking it down so that I know that I'm focusing on the wide receivers, so that even during running plays, I can focus on how the wide receivers are blocking. On plays where they are making passes, I don't have to try to watch the offensive line to see how the pass blocking looks. That's somebody else's job. I get to watch the receivers and just lock in on them, and I can watch how guys are route running. I'm excited to be able to watch that stuff a little more closely because we each have our aspects that we're going to pay attention to. So for me, it's the passing game. For Mike, it's the run game on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes, sir. So I have the honor of taking on RBU, the running back room this season. Looking forward to it. I think this is one of the more exciting running back rooms in a while. And I think and it definitely speaks volumes at a place like Wisconsin. So just jumping right into it, RB1 on the depth chart, or I'm just going to say 1A and 1B because I think both of these dudes they're both going to start games this year for us at some point. So it got to start with Ches Malusi. He last season before he got hurt, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns prior to his injury. This dude's got over 2,000 rushing yards in his career. So he obviously knows what he's doing out there. I think he's tailor-made for this offense. We saw the flashes last season. I think he could have an outstanding year as long as he stays healthy. Knock on wood. And then just getting into it, that was lightning. This is thunder. So 1B, we got Mr. Tawi Walker. We all mentioned him at some capacity last week. He was my breakout candidate for this season. I think he was honestly the MVP of fall camp as well, if not top 2 or 3 guys. He's got bringing plenty of experience to the table as well, coming from a program like Oklahoma. I mean, 496 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. He's the 5'9", 218-pound, stocky, but a bruiser type that has no problem running somebody over. So that combination, I think, could look very, very nice for this group to start the year. And then, but wait, there's more, right? So, yeah. So then you got Jackson Aker, who we kind of mentioned. I mean, this dude had a really good game against LSU last season. He had a nice long touchdown run. He rushed for over 300 yards. He's bringing experience to the table. He might not line up at running back all the time. I think you might see him lining up at H-back, or even it would not shock me if they moved him to tight end on a couple plays if they want to like spread some people out. It would not shock me one bit. This kid also has a track background too, so he's he's pretty fast for his size too, especially. So then you got Cade Yakimelli again. He was playing in the last few games of the season, got some experience under his belt. Definitely no slouch, and I think we're going to see him on the field some capacity too. And then to close it out, we got 2 highly touted 4-star running back recruits that are going to play. I think there's no question. I think these dudes are both going to see the field again in some capacity. Darian Dupree, who is my pick for the freshman that I think would stand out on the offensive side of the ball. And mentioned it last week in fall camp. He was not only lining up in the running back position, they put him in slot. They line him up on kick return even at times, or special teams. They want to get this dude on the field if possible. So I expect him to do that. And then Dylan Jones, the other highly touted 4-star prospect, the ESPN All-American 4-star guy who is also showing plenty of flashes in camp. But hopefully I'll be able to do a better evaluation once I start to see them on the field a little more. Can't stress how excited I am about this group. Looking forward to it. I'm going to do a lot of evaluating on numerous guys this year. So can't wait.
Okay. So as always, this year we're going to keep it going. We're going to have our X factors, our keys to the game, and our score predictions. So Jake, I'm going to go to you first. Give me your X factor for the opener against Western Michigan.
So when I'm doing research on Western Michigan last year, and I'm doing research on Wisconsin last year, I found something out. Western Michigan was like really bad, like really, really bad. Like if you're a Wisconsin Badgers fan and you feel bad about how we were, go watch Western Michigan because they were like really bad. I don't know if I said that, but they sucked. The Badgers are 23.5 point favorites. The over-under for this game is 56.5.
Damn.
So 23-point favorites at 56.5 is actually insane if you think about it. So my X factor for this game is score early, force Western Michigan to pass. Western Michigan had one player with over 400 receiving yards. One. He played all year too. He had 76 catches and 1 touchdown. He had 691 total yards. That was their leading receiver. If the Badgers can score early, jump on Western Michigan, I don't believe they have the passing game to come back in this one. Let the defensive ends, the outside linebackers, pin their ears back, go eat all day long, all night long, I should say, because we're playing at night under the lights. And let's get it going.
So my X factor, I'm sorry I went super generic. My X factor is Tyler Van Dyke. Super generic to start with the quarterback. I understand. But I think Wisconsin's ceiling is highest based on the ability to connect deep and to create another dimension for the offense.
I like it.
I think that was something without Tanner Mordecai, who we kind of thought would be able to launch some deep balls, that the Badgers offense was missing when he got hurt.
Yep.
So I think Tyler Van Dyke's coming in, being known for being able to throw the deep ball. We have no tape of Tyler Van Dyke wearing a Badgers uniform playing in a game yet. So that's where I'm going to start as far as X factors are concerned. So Mike, give us yours.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually wrote down 2 X factors and basically that was one of them. And I'm actually going to go extend off of that just real quickly. So you brought up Van Dyke and Tanner Mordecai. So one of the things that I was really looking at was actually the yards per attempt last year. Tanner Mordecai was 6.6 for yards per attempt. That is not that good. I would like to see us get overall. I would like to see Tyler Van Dyke maybe creep up closer to that 8-yard range or so, because as we know, we didn't really throw the deep ball that much at all last year for the most part. So, that's why we brought in Tyler Van Dyke. So I just wanted to throw the yards per attempt stat out there real quick. But no, I'm glad you brought that up. For me, it's pretty kind of generic too. I have the run defense. Because number one, we did struggle at that last year. Number two, Western Michigan. The one thing I could find on them is that they do have a 1,000-yard rusher, Jalen Buckley. So, and with the question marks on D line, that we've had since last year, like how's that going to look, right? Are we going to get pushed around, or how is that going to look? So, Kurt Neal, I have big expectations for him. This is his third year in the program. He's going to be a starter. He's had plenty of snaps. Just looking forward to what he can do. I'm looking to see what Ben Barton can do. He's had plenty of snaps as well.
I think he's shown some flashes too, even. Yeah,
and then Brandon Lane, somewhat of a highly touted transfer coming in. And I think Dylan Johnson's going to end up getting some snaps too, the true freshman at some point as well. So, the run defense, the line of scrimmage part mainly, can we stop the run early and force them to pass? And then we'll let Rico and company clean up the rest.
All right, Jake, back to you. Give me your key to the game.
So stop me if you heard this before, but stop the run. That's literally my key to the game. When I was further researching, he did average about 5 yards per carry, or a little bit over 5 yards per carry. So when I was looking at it, they played 3 or 4 quarterbacks. The leading quarterback had 1,500 yards, like I said already. They had their leading receiver at 691. So you look at it, they have a 1,000-yard rusher with that shitty passing game, averaging only 5 yards a carry. That's actually insanity. That makes 0 sense. None of that makes sense. So stop the run, force them to make plays through the air, where we have a guy like Ricardo Holman where he can feast. We have a guy like Hunter Wooler that's going to rip your face off if you try to throw over the middle, and we'll just make it happen. But stop the run is what I had.
So my key to this game, it's no mercy.
Hey.
The schedule gets hard. Take it personally.
No.
Don't, I'm not saying to look past Western Michigan, but there's going to be some mental gamesmanship, I think, for the Badgers early in the season, to look at it and be like, okay, we have Western Michigan. It's perceived to be a game we could win by 24 points. Let's win this game by 54 points. That's the kind of mentality I want the Badgers to have. I'm not saying that that's my expectation, and obviously my score predictions are going to reflect that. But that's the mentality that I'm looking for from the Badgers. I don't want it to be like a Buffalo game last year where it's like, oh, okay, that was a little closer than it should have been. I don't want to see anything like that.
Yeah.
I want to see the Badgers beat the hell out of a team that they, quote unquote, should beat the hell out of.
Congrats.
So no mercy from the Badgers. I don't care if you're winning 40-10, win 47-10. So that's my key to the game. No mercy. Mike, what's your key?
Kind of broad, but win the line of scrimmage and do it early. We have so much experience on this offensive line. I think we should absolutely murder people in this first game. I could see both Ches and Tyler Walker each having 100 yards. That's that's more so my expectation. I have high expectations for our offensive line this year. Last season, we didn't play clean ball at all. Every single show, I feel like one of us, probably each of us at some point, brought up whether it was the penalties or missing blocks, anything along those lines. And It was just week after week after week. Now that our line, we're 1 year in the system now. We have, like I said, we have plenty of experience coming back. I have high expectations, and that might be the theme of the team this year for me in general, is that line of scrimmage, because when you have teams coming in like in Alabama that are going to have 4- and 5-star D tackles, or O-line for them in this case, it's going to be about the line of scrimmage, I think, at the end of the day, not necessarily the talent, the line of scrimmage ultimately. So no, I would love to, just run over some dudes early and just take that whole D line of theirs out of the game and don't let Tyler Van Dyke get touched. That's a key to the game.
Well, Reggie's jumping ahead, getting the score predictions. Reggie said 56-10 Badgers. So, Jake, give me your score prediction from the head. I don't know if that's from the heart, Reggie, or that's what you're thinking from the head as you're more analytical. But just like anything else, we have a head and heart score prediction coming this week. So, Jake, give me your score prediction from the head.
30-17 Badgers.
Okay. My score prediction from the head is 30-10.
Okay, Mikey.
27-13 from the head.
Ooh, a little closer. All right.
Okay.
Jake, give me your score prediction from the heart.
45-13.
Ooh. From the heart, I have 34-6.
Oh, damn.
42-10.
What'd you say?
42-10 from Mike.
42-10.
All right. I would love any of our.
We got Reggie. We got Reggie out here, 56-10. Reggie, if your score prediction happens, I'll send you something in the mail.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna write it down actually. 56-10. There we go. Reggie's score prediction is right next to mine. 56-10.
If that happens, I'll send you a package.
Be much better with 13 more points. Just saying.
We'll see what happens.
28-6 from the head. Damn, Reggie.
6 from the head. Okay.
Ooh.
Connor said 52-14. Damn, you guys are excited for some offense here.
Holy crap!
I think all
Did you guys watch our offense last year?
season.
Did you watch that? I watched that.
What's that?
Our offense.
Offense last year.
Yeah,
It wasn't pretty.
not at all.
I will say, not having Renfro in was a big downgrade at the center position. We talked about that. He said, "That's my heart." Okay, well, I sure hope so. But the offensive line in general, like I said, a lot of seniors, man. I'm expecting a lot out of them too, Mikey. Also, you're not watching the line of scrimmage. That's my job this year. You understand? Okay, that's my job. I'm the line of scrimmage.
Key to the game.
I know. Give you
It
shit.
could be from anything. The keys and the X factor can be anything. All right. So if you are subscribed to us on Patreon, we will see you guys on Friday night. So Connor, I know I'll see you there on Friday night for the Badgers opening game against Western Michigan. We have a watch party. That game starts at 8:00, so we will be live at 7:30 with the pregame show. We look forward to seeing you there. Other than that, Connor said his score prediction from the head is 32-7. All right, I'm with that. Other than that, we will be back Friday night, obviously, for the Patreon show. Other than that, we will be back next Tuesday night for our Green Bay Packers preview for Week 1, because that starts next Friday. So
Let's go.
we are diving into football season here. Last night, we did our Green Bay Packers stat projections. So if you are a Packers fan, please go check that out. I think it was a great episode, possibly one of our best episodes that we've done about the Packers. So check that out, and then we will be back again next Wednesday to discuss the Badgers and see what the actual final score was for the Badgers in Western Michigan, which you will get to see on Friday night if you're subscribed to us over on Patreon. If not, you should. That's going to be one of those things that helps us reach our dream, is if people are willing to give us $5 of their hard-earned money every month to watch some games with us and get a pregame show from us. If we can get 1,000 people to do it, that would be enough for me to be able to quit my job and focus on the show full time. So we have about 995 people to go, but you got to start somewhere. So hopefully we will see everybody over on Patreon on Friday night, and we will be back next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, for some more football and baseball discussion. So we will see you guys then, and thanks for tuning in.
Later, fellas.